Hello and welcome to the Single Today podcast. If you are new, this is a podcast that supplements my very first book, Single Today, and we are glad that you are here. It's a special episode because we have a guest. This is our very first guest on the Single Today podcast. It's my good friend, Stephanie May Wilson, who, as you're about to find out, has spent years coaching and mentoring and discipling single people, but she also has a brand new book that is out, came out this week, called Create a Life You Love. And it is amazing. It is phenomenal. And so we get into the book as well. And we just have a ton of fun along the way. If you want to support Stephanie, the link to buy her book is in the show notes. And thank you for joining us. Let's get going. All right, hello and welcome back to the Single Today podcast. Today, we have a very special episode for you. My good friend, Stephanie May Wilson, is here with us. Stephanie, there's so many things that I want to ask you, but before we do that, I want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, tell us where you live, and what you've been up to these days.
Yeah. Okay. I'm so honored to be here. This is so fun. So like you said, I'm Stephanie May Wilson. I'm an author and a podcaster. And my thing is helping women in their 20s and 30s navigate some of life's biggest decisions and transitions. So that's, who do I want to spend my life with? And where do I want to live? And who are my people? And do I want to have kids? And what do I want to do for work? And all of the things we have to figure out during this season of life. My heart is to be who I needed when I was younger and get to, like, some of the things that I've learned the hard way along the way, get to pass them back in case they're helpful for anybody else. I've been doing this work for over a decade now, which is wild.
That's crazy.
And other than podcasting and writing, I am a wife to Carl. We've been married for almost 10 years, which is also insane. It feels like it was yesterday. Like, how is that possible? Yes. I'm also mom to 3-year-old twin girls, Annie and Quinn, and we live in Nashville, although I'm from Colorado, which is where you and I met, Ryan. And then we are actually in the process of moving our family to Spain.
Whoa.
Which is crazy.
We'll get to that because I have lots of questions about that in a moment. But so Stephanie, you just wrote a book.
I did. Did I forget to mention that?
No. Let me mention it because it's amazing. I've been reading it all week. I just finished it this morning. It's called Create a Life You Love, How to Quiet Outside Voices So You Can Finally Hear Your Own. I have questions just about that title because I love a good title. But we're going to get to all of that in a couple of minutes. First, this is a fun one for us because we've actually been good friends for a long, long time. Yeah. We went to college together, Go Buffs, University of Colorado. And we got to do ministry together there for years. It's really, for me, where I fell in love with ministry and where I started to really find my footing that has led to so much of this. Would you say the same thing, by the way?
Yeah. Really quick, can you hear that mower that just started right outside my door?
It's great.
Okay, great. Okay.
You're good.
Like, thanks. Perfect timing, people.
Right? It's always that way.
It's always that way. That was totally the case for me. You know, I got involved in the college ministry that we were both part of, like, really towards the end of college. And I was kind of late to the boat, train, pick your vehicle when it comes to getting to know Jesus. Mm-hmm. And so getting involved in the ministry was so awesome. And it was so cool because really, really quickly, I was given a leadership position. And I remember being like, hey, I am totally unqualified for this. Like 1,000,000% unqualified. Like, I am a wild card. I don't know if you can trust me. Like, I'm a mess. Yeah. And they were like, you're really not, though. And we do trust you and you're ready for what we have for you. And it was cool because my job was leading a small group of 27 sorority girls. And it was one, that's not small. Two, it was so cool because I speak sorority fluently because I had just spent 4 years in the Greek system. And so I was sort of like the translator. And it was really, really cool. And so, yeah, I mean, it was everything that I'm doing today is an extension of that small group. It's just online now.
So good. And so, real quick, before we get to the new book, you have written a ton, and you've created a lot of amazing content, and a lot of the space that you've been in over the last decade has been helping single people navigate this singleness space. Can you tell us a little bit about what you have been up to over all these years?
Yes. So I started blogging about maybe 12 years ago now. And that, I just kind of started, it was this really cool marriage between, I just graduated with a journalism degree that I wasn't using. I had this unpaid internship in ministry with these sorority girls. And my blog was sort of this combination of the two. And so I started writing and telling the stories of what I was seeing and experiencing in my life. And I was traveling at the time. And it was really cool because people started to, A, read it, which was wild, and then B, write me back. And so I was getting, questions and comments from people. And so it started this kind of, it felt like a small group in my inbox almost. And one of the most, I was getting topics or questions about everything, friendship and transitions and jobs and all kinds of things. But a huge portion of the questions were about singleness and dating. And, I am the kind of person that, especially when it comes to relationships, like I am a relationship person through and through. And I feel like I very much led with my heart the whole time I was dating and single. And so that led to a lot of different experiences, some great, some like crushing. And I really tried to take notes along the way. I've always been a big journaler. I'm a person who really pays attention as I'm learning things. And so I was able to kind of turn around. And as these women were asking me for advice about their love lives, I had things to say. And the more that I got into it, I started to get so many emails that I genuinely couldn't keep up with them. Wow. But I also was really trying to keep up with them because the questions I was getting were highlighting how bad the advice is that most people are getting about singleness and dating. And I want to say, especially in the church, like, why are we so bad at this?
Yeah.
So I really was like, I need to do something about this.
Give me an example. I
have this background in small group leader. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. Give me one example real quick of some bad advice.
Oh my gosh. Fun. You should know if this person is your future person before you say yes to a coffee date with them. Yeah. Well, I don't think this is my future husband or my future wife, so I'm probably not going to go to coffee. Like you don't even know their coffee order. You don't know if this is your person.
Super healthy.
Healthy. Yeah. Or you should not put yourself out there. You should just wait on the Lord.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Wait on the Lord.
Absolutely.
Also, you have to meet humans if you're ever going to meet a human, Right. Yeah. So it was things like that. And so, I was trying to figure out how I could keep up with these messages, like stand in a gap of like, no, please don't do this with your love life. It's not going to turn out how you want it to. And also, I had this background of leading a small group. And so I was like, how can I combine all these things? And so I created this online course called Love Your Single Life. And that was 8 years ago. We've had over 7,000 women go through it. And Ryan, when I tell you that the stories that have come out of it are like, at this point, at the beginning, I was like, hey, I made kind of a cool course. At this point, I'm like, Lord, all you, yeah. Because so many women have gone to get married afterwards, to really, really cool people. Women have had babies, adopted babies, fostered babies, moved all around the world, gotten really, really cool jobs, done really beautiful work in the world, met their best friends. Like so many amazing things have come out of it. And I just am sitting on the sidelines, just like a weepy stage mom, or not even like like I have a huge thing of pom-poms and I'm just over here crying, just amazed at what God's done through it.
That's so amazing. Over 7,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there one in that 7,000 that's just on your heart this morning? Like one specific story? Oh, sorry to put you on the spot.
Gosh,
I'm just curious.
There are so many. Let me think, because I want to do it justice. Let me think of I'm like, my brain is immediately like flipping through this Rolodex and it's going really fast. There are so many women who I think really have kept themselves out of the dating game.
Yeah.
They've really held themselves back from putting themselves out there, because I think they, like, for a long time, like, I mean, Ryan, I think you were probably in the church when everyone kissed dating goodbye. That was like my time.
Yeah.
But like a lot of the women that I've talked to were taught you should not be an active participant in your dating life at all. Yeah. And it just has not worked out for them. Right. And it's been so cool. There are several stories like this, but I got to meet up with a woman in person, which is really fun, a handful of years ago. And we were having lunch and she's talking to us about her dating life. And most of her friends had gotten married and had like all their kids by this point. She was feeling very, very behind. She lived in a really tiny town. And she was like, when I tell you that there are no single men here, there are no single men here. And it was like true. And so we started, I was with my friend Carly, and we started talking to her about like dating apps and online dating. And she had so many hesitations about it, which I find a lot of people do. I've become a really big fan of online dating over the years, because to me, it's not dating. It's like an introduction service. It's like, you're not dating online. It's just showing you another person exists. And so we kind of together, we like tag teamed a little bit and talked her into trying, I think she signed up for Christian Mingle, which was just a good fit for where she was. And she ended up reconnecting with someone that she went to like second grade with, who lived 2 towns over, that she just never would have run into, but who was such a great fit for her. And they just hadn't bumped into each other. And so, yeah, they've been married for years and years now. And it just was so like, oh man, it was funny because we finished lunch and got in the car and we're like, why were we were like evangelists for Christian Mingle. Like, I think we pushed maybe a little too hard, but then really it was like almost instantly she met some person she just never would have bumped into otherwise.
I love
things
that.
Like that
so much. Okay. So with one of the things that I always not struggle with, but I think is a bit humorous is my podcast is called Single Today. The book is called Single Today. I am a huge proponent of everything that you're talking about, of people getting out and meeting people. I love marriage. I officiated a wedding last week. I'm a huge fan of it. I don't lead by example in that regard often. And so like my whole spiel is I'm always trying to help people be content where they're at today. Can you just for a moment help me here? Talk to the person who watches this podcast but needs that pep talk, that pump up talk to get back out and get back into the dating world. What would you say to that listener right now?
Oh man, you have like, it feels like you have everything to lose, but you really don't have anything to lose. Ooh. Like the most detrimental thing I think we usually can do when it comes to big moments, big changes, big transitions in our lives is to do nothing. Like nothing's going to happen if you do nothing. But if you, Dr. Henry Cloud talks about upping your numbers. And it really, at some point, is a numbers game. It's just like applying for jobs. Like if you apply for one job, chances are you really might not get it and you might walk away totally disappointed. But if you apply for a bunch of jobs, your odds of getting one of those jobs go up considerably. And I think as you're applying for them and as you're having conversations and as you're like putting yourself out there, it's going to grow so much confidence in you, so much strength. It's going to be such good practice. Like every date you go on, even if it goes terribly, is great practice. And really, I mean, your odds of meeting someone great go up so much the more people you meet. And so you have nothing to lose. I'm so sorry that for so long people were telling you that you should be just like passenger in your love life, but it really does, just like applying for jobs, just like making friends, just like any fitness, anything else, it takes action, but you can do it.
Wow. Okay. That is so good. Listen to Stephanie, everybody. Knows what she's talking about.
But Ryan, I love the work that you're doing, because I think what I found as I was creating my course was, it's called Love Your Single Life. It's not called Love Your Dating Life. And what I discovered, especially as I looked back in my story, was that when we're looking ahead at the next thing, we're just always chasing this carrot. We're never going to catch it. Yeah. But if we can invest in our lives today, like really, really make the most of our moment being single today, making friends, healing from some of the junk that's happened in our past, like growing in our faith, getting healthy, like whatever that looks like for you, not only does that it does so many things. It kills a lot of birds with one stone. Yeah. So one of the things that it does is it helps you enjoy this season of your life, which we don't know how long it's going to last. And also, like, if someone were to tell you that you'd be married in 4 years to like a really wonderful person and you really don't have to worry about it, what would you do? You're like, well, I would make the most of the meantime because I'm not worrying about it anymore. Right. Like, great. Okay, right. So do that. Not only does that make it so that you don't miss a really beautiful, important season of your life, but it also prepares you for the relationships that are to come. You'll be way like in such a better spot to be in a great relationship if you do that work today. And then also those things, like making the most of today, are often usually how you end up meeting someone great.
That's the irony of it.
3 for 1, 3 for the price of 1.
Okay, you said if you do that work today, that's a topic I know we're both really passionate about, is especially in the singleness time, there's a whole lot of regret from the past. There's shame from the past. There's overthinking, the ones that got away, all of that. What would give us some advice for the person listening going, I'm trying to love my single life today, but I keep getting pulled back into the past. What's some of your wise sage advice that you would give that person? What should their next step be?
Go to therapy. I'm so serious. It is. I think that, like, again, these messages that have sort of been circulated, I don't know how often we're told, hey, a bad breakup or a relationship that, like, a one that got away, or, not being able to get over this breakup, or just what matters of the heart like that, are absolutely a valid and important reason to go to therapy. Because they bring up so much and they stick with us. And like, if you had, say, infidelity in a past relationship, it's going to be really hard for you to not walk into your next relationship or all of your future relationships with like your guard totally up. But that past is going to rob you of future joy and connection and stability in a relationship when it doesn't have to. But like, I don't know that we can always let those things go by ourselves. And we don't have to. And so, yeah, that would be like, go to therapy. It is absolutely a valid reason to see a therapist. I don't think anyone needs a valid reason to go see a therapist, but a breakup and honestly, anything to do with your heart or relationships is 100% a reason to get some help.
Yes. Okay. So you have been writing about this a lot. In a slightly different way, but with a lot of overlap in this new book, Create a Life You Love, which, by the way, can we just celebrate the fact that we have books coming out literally a week apart from each other?
A week apart. Like, they're almost twins. It's so cool. And I'm very glad to, like, I mean, we're like texting under the table being like, this is really scary and hard. You too? Uh-huh.
Gift for me in that regard. There's I sent you one a while back that was like, hey, so I spent part of today like so excited about this book, and the other part of my day, like, this is not going to work. Is that normal?
Is that normal? Is like, yeah, well, okay, I know you're a great writer. I know you have amazing things to say. If you're feeling that way, then maybe it's okay that I am too.
Right.
pass it back and forth.
Hey, we're in it together. And so
Yes.
thank you for that. And phenomenal job with this one. Give us a little bit of background for why you decided, like, was there a moment where you sat down and you thought, oh, I got to go with Create a Life You Love. I got to write this book. Tell us a little bit about that.
You know, I've been doing this work, like I said, for the last decade or so, and I've never, sometimes I think people start with the thesis and then everything else comes after it. You know, like I need people to know that they need to be content today, and then everything else falls under that. For me, it was sort of like a climb up the tree.
Nice.
And so I didn't really, the thing about this book that is so cool is that it is the umbrella over everything that I've done for the last 10 years. It is Love Your Single Life. It is all the other books that I've written. And this is like kind of the thesis of all of them, which is really fun. It sort of came out of the fact that for the last, 10 years of my life, I've been putting these really big pieces together, these like really big, I want to say puzzle pieces, but I'll dismantle that in a second, but go with that metaphor for now. I've been putting these really big puzzle pieces into place. Like, this is who I want to be. And this is what I believe. And this is who I want to spend my life with. This is who I'm going to marry. And like, I want to be a mom, and okay, well now I have kids, and like, this is what I want to do for my career and where I want to live. And like all these really big pieces. And throughout that time, I've been, walking through it myself and walking with my friends through it. And then also kind of every time I learn something, turning around and being like, anyone need this? And someone always does, which is so cool. Yeah. But I didn't know, I didn't see the umbrella until 2 years ago when I heard a stat that I cannot forget. There was a study that came out of Boston University and the University of Michigan. And it was a rare study of lifespan development. And the researchers found that 80% of our biggest life moments happen before we turn 35. And when I first heard that, I was like, there is no way. Like, what? Like, I didn't even know how to feel about it.
Every single person listening just got anxious.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, well, and so then I looked into like, okay, well, what are the average ages that people like, the averages for when people get married or when people have kids, or, I know a lot about our, a biological clock, for lack of a less annoying way to talk about it. When people kind of get established in their careers, like what these different timelines look like. And I started to realize, oh my gosh, it really is true that, especially like I'll speak for women, we make, like the average woman makes the majority of those really big life-defining decisions in between about 25 and 35, like ish. And so I'm like, this is crazy. How is this a thing? And how is no one talking about this? Yeah. So I start to like look in to see if, is there a name for this season of life or for what we're going through? It's like, it's not a midlife crisis. We're not at midlife. We're not really at quarter life either. Like is there a name for this? And I couldn't find one. And so I made one up. And so I call it the everything era. And it's this like weird, wonderful, and wildly difficult span of years during which we make some of the most biographically significant decisions of our life, all at the same time and in front of a very opinionated audience.
Yes.
And that's the like kind of the next thing that I started to notice is I'm like, okay, so this time period is a thing. Why is it so hard? And one of the biggest reasons that it's so hard is because there are so many people telling us what our lives are supposed to look like and telling us that like they should have looked like that years ago. We're already behind. And so that's when like seeing that and then looking back at everything that I learned over the last 10 years of going through this sort of process of putting my life together, I was like, I need to write about this. I need to write about this season. I need to figure out what this has looked like for women in generations past and how that applies to it, like impacts us today, because it very, very much does. And like, I don't want to tell women how to live their lives. I want to help them figure it out for themselves. Because the thing that like the phrase that has saved my life, honestly, over and over and over again throughout every one of those big decisions was this idea that you get to decide.
Good.
And so often I think that, people tell us this one right way to live your life. You should be dating this way. You should get married by this point. Your marriage should look like this. You should feed your toddlers this. There's so much advice out there. But really, like, the more I looked at it, the more I realized, like, there really isn't one right way to do this. There is not one right way to build a life. And in so many ways, like, there are a few rights and wrongs. There are a few blacks and whites. For the most part, we are just in this whole, like, we're standing at the paint wall in Home Depot, and like, there are a million options to choose from. But that in itself is overwhelming. And so the heart of this book is, you get to decide.
Yeah.
Let's turn down some of the voices and help you pick some of these paint colors that look and feel like you.
Okay, so I want to read a quote. I want to quote you to you. Oh, I texted you this a couple of days ago as I was reading it. It was one of those sentences that, like, literally made me cheer. And you alluded to the puzzle analogy earlier and how it does feel like that, and that's partly true, but it's not fully there.
Yeah.
And so this is you in your new book. But the truth is, our adult lives aren't puzzles to complete, they're collages to create. Now, Stephanie, first off, I'm a big fan of alliteration, and that's just very good writing. And yeah, well done. And when you read the book, which everybody go order the book right now and read it. When you read the book, you've done a really good job of, like, building the suspense up to that moment to get there. But changing the imagery in your mind from a puzzle to build to a collage to create. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you, by the way. It really does feel like when you're building a puzzle, you have the box top sitting next to you, right? You're like, okay, this is what the picture's supposed to look like. You're looking for your edge pieces. You're looking for, okay, like, this side is blue. This side should look like this. And you're looking for the pieces that fit exactly together. You get that satisfying click. And, like, that's what it feels like building our lives. And really, that's what it feels like building our lives until about 22. And then all of a sudden you graduate from college, all these things fit together. You get the grades, you get the internships, you do all the things, they all fit together. And then all of a sudden, like, there's no box top anymore. There's no exact right path. Or someone might tell you that there's an exact right path, but you're like, ooh, I don't want that life. Or, like, that doesn't fit me. Or you have to do this. You have to be married. You're like, I don't know that I want that. And so all of a sudden, like, the puzzle, you're either building a puzzle you don't want, or you're, like, trying to build something without any sort of guide. And that's why I really like the imagery of a collage, because you really do get to collect anything that feels and looks and sounds beautiful to you and put them together in whatever way, like, fits for you. And, like, there are always things that, well, I'll get there in a second. The reason I like the collage, though, is because there's some limitations to it. It's not a free for all. You have a limited amount of space. You have 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week. You do need to decide how to spend it and how to fill it. And so an example that I like to think of is, like, if you were to, I don't know, like, run for the president to be the president of the United States. That is a massive job. That is going to take over absolutely every part of your life leading up to the election for 4 years, and then hopefully for another 4 if you win again. Yeah. There's not going to be room on your page for, like, almost anything else. That's going to be really big. It's going to be right in the center. And there may be a tiny little bit of room for, like, a friendship, or to see your partner if you have one, and to, like, wave at your kids on the side. But, like, that's a decision you've made to put one really, really big thing right in the middle. Or, maybe you're the kind of person that likes to do a lot of little things. And so you have your board full of, a little bit of this hobby, a little bit of this friendship, a little bit of this, and you like being really busy. So they're all really squished together. Or maybe you're a person that needs some white space and some margin in your life. And so you take some of those things off your board and give yourself some breathing room in between the different pieces. I really like the imagery of a collage because there's just not one right way to put it together.
Yeah.
And I think, I think that there might be a little piece of us that has a hesitation when we hear something like create a life you love, because that seems a little bit like, just like, go out there and do it. Like, make your life so great. And like, that's not what we're saying here. It's not selfish. It's not sticky sweet. It's not entitled even. The way that I think about this, we're mixing metaphors here, but I think of this like pants. Like everyone wears pants, right? Mm-hmm. Most people, I guess, wear pants. Live your life. So you wear pants, but you don't have to wear that pair. Like you don't have to wear the pair in your closet that does not fit you anymore, or that you've never liked, or that are itchy. Like no one should have to wear itchy pants, because there are 80 bazillion different versions and styles and colors and cuts and fabrics out in the world. It is not selfish or silly or entitled to want to find a pair of pants that fit your body. Right. In the same way, it is not entitled or selfish or silly or idealistic or whatever to want to make adjustments to your life so that it fits you better. And so that's really what we're talking about. We're talking about just finding some pants that fit.
Yeah, because when you do that, you show up better for your family, and you show up better for your friends, and you show up better for the world. And so it's actually a very like selfless thing to do, is to figure out who you are. And I love that collage imagery because really we all grew up having a puzzle, making puzzles, and there was always one way to do it. And to me, that lends to the word authority. Like the picture on the puzzle box is my authority. It's telling me how this is supposed to go. And you write about this a lot really well, can take some work to sort of quiet those outside voices in order to finally hear your own, as the subtitle says so well. Can you talk a little bit about two words, authority and creativity? Yes. Because those two words go hand in hand. Creativity, one, is something that you and I are both so passionate about. It takes an immense amount of creativity to create a life that you love.
Yeah.
But authority plays into that as well. So go.
I think, the thing again that I think is really unique about this book is that I'm not trying to help you create a life that looks like mine. I might be, I love the position I get to be in, because I get to be a guide and I get to be a friend, but what you decide to do with your life doesn't impact me at all. And so I do not care what you decide. I just want you to decide. And so there's not really a whole lot of, there's not a formula in the book except for one. And I said, I believe that to live an authentic life is basically like authenticity equals authority plus creativity. And authority is knowing that you get to make the calls about your life. And you really do. Like, when I think of the most pressing or most I guess pressing example of this to me right now is as a mom. I have 3-year-old twins, and I am responsible for making so many of the decisions about the way that we live our day-to-day life, schedule, their environment, what they eat, what they wear, how often they bathe. Like I'm responsible for all of these things. I have to make decisions about all of them. And if you Google any of those things, there will be a million different authorities telling you the exact right schedule to keep your kids on, or the exact right way to do bath time, or the exact right whatever. But then they'll all conflict because there's so many different opinions about what this can look like. And so it has been so necessary for me. I should mention, I'm a people pleaser and I'm a rule follower. So this is like not my natural bent. Yeah. That's why, really, it's why I've needed to learn this so many times over and over again, that like, I don't have to submit to the authority of that mommy blogger telling me exactly how to bathe my kid. Like, I get to know my kid and know me and know our family and know our schedule and know their needs, know their skin, and bathe them accordingly. I get to decide, and I need to decide. So authority is recognizing that there are a bazillion different decisions that could be made, a bazillion different versions of your life that you could live, but you can and need to make decisions that are right for you and for your people. That is your job as the leader in your life. Which is, it's hard. A lot of us don't sit in that spot. But then creativity, I love, because there really are so many different ways to do this. And I think that the more creative we can get, the more we can sort of customize our lives to fit us. There's a story that I tell in the book about our dining room. This was in a house we actually just moved out of, but we had this really beautiful dining room that was perfect for like dinner parties, which I don't know if I mentioned, I have 2 3-year-olds, like no dinner parties are happening right now. I do not have the energy for that. And so our dining room just sat there like collecting packages that needed to be returned and mail I didn't have like the energy to open. And it just sat there for the longest time. And then at some point we accidentally got sent a bouncy house. It was an Amazon mistake. Like there was no way to return it because we didn't buy it. Like it just showed up at our house. And there was a super hot day in Tennessee. We decided that we were going to push our dining room table out of the way and blow up the bouncy house. And that dining room became the bouncy house room for the whole rest of the time we lived there. And I just didn't like the amount of joy that brought me. I mean, it brought my kids a ton of joy, but the amount of joy that it brought me to go, people say that this is supposed to be a dining room, but this is my house. I don't need a dining room right now. What I do need is a bouncy house room. And to be able to be creative with my space and really customize my life and our environment to fit what we need right now. So that's kind of that combination.
Those 2 words, that's huge. That's so important. Okay, last question.
Okay.
You, back in a long time ago when we both graduated college, we both made 2 really big decisions to go travel the world for a year. You did the world race, and then Doug and Ethan and I did a similar thing sort of on our own. And I think we would both say that those were 2 monumental moments for both of us. And that was really us deciding to take ownership and to create with authority and go, we're going to pivot here. We're going to change things up. My favorite part of the book, one of my favorite parts of the book, is at the very end of it, you talk about a new chapter that you guys are about to step into, where you're doing the same thing. Can you tell us about the adventure you have coming up and why you decided to do it?
Oh, yes. Well, first of all, I don't know if I've ever told you guys this. Do you know that I did the world race because you guys were planning this trip and I wanted to go and you guys wouldn't let me go?
Wait, really?
Yeah. I was like, you guys are planning this trip. And I was like, that's awesome. I want to come. And you're like, well, we're going to go to really like dangerous places. And so we're just going to just have it only be boys. I was like, well, that's stupid. Well, fine. I'm going to go on my own. And so I did.
But you had an awesome adventure. And you know what? We didn't go to Spain. So
I didn't go to Spain on the world race. Actually, I didn't go. It was crazy. I didn't go anywhere Spanish speaking.
No way.
Yeah. I was in Eastern Europe, Eastern Africa, and Southeast Asia. But it was an awesome experience. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful that like my FOMO and like, well, I can do it too. Like talked me into that direction, or sent me in that direction because it was awesome. We are, so part of the book, in most of the book, we're talking about how to create a life you love. We also talk about how to like what to do when the things really aren't going according to plan. When, you run into the opinions of people that don't support what you're doing, when people don't agree with the version of life that you're creating, or when you're trying to make something happen and you just cannot get it to happen no matter what you try, or when, you put your collage all together and then like a pin falls out and you have to kind of start over, or a new idea pops into your head and you go, oh, well, okay, I want to make some space for this. And that's really the truth of it, is that this isn't a destination, it's a process. And the more we do it and the more we practice making decisions for our lives with authority and creativity, like we can do it again and again and again throughout our lives, and we will. So we came to a place in my family's life about I mean, probably a year ago now, maybe a little less, where we realized that the beautiful life that we had intentionally created just wasn't fitting us anymore. And there are a bunch of different reasons, but we were like, we need to do something different. We need to make some adjustments in our lives. And one of the things we talk about in the book is the difference between fixed elements and variables. And so like really identifying what, like, this is something I'm going to build my life around. Like, this is part of the furniture. This is part of the architecture of my life. I'm not changing it. This is a load-bearing wall, if you will, if anyone watches too many home decor shows, just like me. So like, this is a load-bearing wall. These other things can be changed. These are throw pillows. So one of the things, so in our lives, the fixed elements were our family, our house, and our jobs. You know, this is what I do for a living. My husband has a marketing and branding company, and we both love the work that we do. But we were looking at our lives going, okay, there's not enough room in our lives for these fixed elements. Something has to go. And so it was a really like long process, but we decided that the thing that was going to go was our house. We ended up abandoning basically our dream home and renting it out, and another family lives in it now, which is just awesome. It's been so good for us. And we got to just sort of pull everything off of the collage and go, you know, what do we want this to look like? What do we need in this season? How has that changed from the last one? And what do we want to do? And so our first move was to like downsize, like let go of some of the stuff that we were carrying. Our life was just so heavy there for so long. And now we're in the process of doing that again, like more in way more of an extreme way. We're selling basically everything we own, and we are going to be moving to Spain together.
Good. Let's go. I'm so excited for you guys. It's going to be such a wild adventure for the whole family.
So cool. It's going to be so cool. I really want my girls to learn Spanish. You know, it's so fun. I'm getting to go with my best friend and her family. The whole thing is just going to be really...
Even like at a very practical level, you and I have both always been passionate about Spanish and had to work very hard at it. But to get, your girls are 3.
Yeah.
Correct. So to get them just surrounded and immersed in it at that age, it's so perfect.
I know. It's the best gift I can think of to give them. I'm like, this is what I wish. This is what I wish I could have had as a kid, was just to be dropped in some place where I had to learn Spanish and had to do it early. They're such sponges. Like this will take them no time.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited for this next part of your journey, and congratulations on the book. I want to real quick just give our listeners 3 action steps right now. 1, first and foremost, go order Create a Life You Love. Stephanie May Wilson. Read it. Leave a review on Amazon or wherever you buy it. Goodreads, all of that. Help spread the word about it, because it's a really important book for this everything era that so many of us find ourselves in. 2, you have content on singleness. Love Your Single Life, like we talked about in the beginning. A prayer journal. Praying for your future person. Can you tell us where all of that is available?
Yes. So that's all. My website is kind of the train station. Everything leaves from there. So it's StephanieMayWilson.com. It's MAY. I don't know where MAE will take you. So StephanieMayWilson.com. And I would love to share the course with you. The prayer journal is so beautiful. It's called Every Single Moment. And I just would love to get to know y'all. This is a hard thing, a hard time of life, and dating and singleness is so confusing and like beautiful and hard all at the same time. And if I can do anything to cheer you on, I want to.
Come on. Well, thank you, Stephanie, for being a part of the Single Today journey. Thanks for joining us today. Congrats on the book. And I can't wait to see what this next year has in store for you.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for having me.